So in the next 30, 40 minutes or so, I'll give you an overview of the approach we take at Sylvera, the data we have, and a quick demo of what that looks like on the platform. But to begin with, I want to outline sort of our understanding of their needs for carbon credit pricing data. And I'll articulate it with this slide. Uh, Market participants need three kinds, broadly speaking, of carbon credit pricing data. And number one would be spot prices. So historically, most market participants active on the voluntary carbon markets or carbon credit markets in general have transacted on the spot market. If you want to make a confident decision whether you are supplying credits or purchasing credits, you want to have a reference of the spot price for the project that you're looking at, or the comparable prices of similar projects. So you need to have a good reference point for spot prices. Then there's a broader question be like, instead of just looking at spot market, I want to do something on the forward market. And here's where number two comes in, offtake prices. This is a relatively nascent part of the market. It's only really begun to take off in the last 3 to 4 years, with around 100 buyers, a few hundred buyers. So what we are looking at here is a much smaller universe of data, but it's potentially much more relevant for companies that are thinking 5, 10 years ahead. They need to secure stable volumes of high quality credits, and the offtake market is kind of the place where companies are active in. And that's also where we work with a lot of our clients. So having visibility on spot prices is probably not good enough, and you want to look at offtake prices. So across number one and two, spot and offtake prices, the approach here is relatively straightforward. It's all about data collection. It means having extensive data coverage, having independent and trusted data sources, and frequent updates. And that's what we try to do at Sylvera, and I'll talk you through that in a moment. So that's number one and two. The third bit is a bit more complicated. We call it market forecast, or you would think forecasted prices. Now, instead of being useful just for transacting on the spot and forward markets, here I think the primary use case is for anyone who is undertaking a strategic long-term planning for their decisions, whether you're an investor in carbon credit markets, a buyer, or a project developer. In fact, Sylvera also needs strategic planning because we operate within carbon credit markets, and we need to have a view on how future demand supply prices could evolve. So there are a lot more questions to be unpacked, and they could only be answered by market forecasts. For example, spot prices and offtake prices reflect at that given point in time the price that's agreed between a willing buyer and seller. It doesn't tell you anything about how the future market size for a certain product type would look like. It doesn't tell you how would a change in CORSIA policy affect prices, because these are what-if scenarios that cannot be unpacked by actual historical observed data. It requires a sophisticated understanding of the market and a clever way to model the different moving parts of demand supply in order to form a better view of future market outcomes. And that's where I will spend most of my time as well in the rest of this demo.